So I felt like standing today, kids, because all I do is sit down now, and you need to experience all of Mrs. Seaman because I think you're missing it a little, maybe. Okay, so on this day in history, Woodrow Wilson asked for a declaration of war in 1917. We've talked about war enough for you to know, hopefully, that 1917 equals World War One. Okay, World War One. Remember, World War One starts in 1914, ends in 1918. We don't enter the war until 1917 because we were practicing this system of what's called isolationism, which was where our foreign policy was one where we said, that looks like your problem is not really our problem, okay? That doesn't mean we didn't aid in the war, like we sent things, but we didn't send people until 1917. Here's why, okay? Woodrow Wilson, so he formally asked Congress to send U.S. troops to battle against Germany in World War One. Okay, this quote lamented it. It is a fearful thing to lead this great peaceful people into war. So they didn't really want to do this, but 4 days later, Congress declared war on Germany. So between February and March of 1917. Germany had increased its attacks on neutral shipping in the Atlantic. So, in the ocean, the Atlantic is the ocean between North America and Europe. Okay, so that was supposed to be neutral territory, but they were like sinking boats that were trying to get to Europe. So that was a no-no. People were not liking that because Americans who were not involved in the war at all, where they were just shipping things back and forth like they normally would, people were dying, and people don't really like that. Okay, this other thing happened, and this is called the Zimmerman Telegraph. So we don't know if all of this is totally true or not, but it stated that the Germans would help Mexico regain Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona if they joined the if they joined Germany in the war against the U.S. So Germany, this Zimmerman dude, was trying to go and get Mexico to join the war, and so that would make the war fought on the North American continent and not just on the European continent. So that was a no-no for people. Also taking back Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona, which had been formerly in, Mexican-American War. I think that some of that. Public outcry against Germany caused Wilson to abandon this thought of neutrality. Remember, neutrality comes from the word neutral, which means you're not really taking a side. So he has to make some decisions because people are angry and there's an outcry, and they want to make the world safe for democracy again. And this is going to kind of be a mantra throughout World War One, and then after World War II when we're fighting the Cold War. Okay, so American entrance into World War One greatly affected the outcome. Remember, World War One was a war that was fought in the trenches, kids, in the trenches. So imagine fighting for 3 long years and you have to be in trenches, okay? And remember, we've talked about like getting trench foot before, where your feet just turn like black and they're never dry, and you don't have enough food. You might not understand why you're fighting this war. So many things are happening. So when you get this flux of American soldiers that come in, it's really motivating, and it kind of gives you a breath of energy again that they hadn't had in a really long time. So the American entrance into the war, it made us look like the coolest people ever too, right? We enter the war and then things end within a year. We kind of look like the big awesome, uncle coming in or something. Anyway, okay, so that's on this day. Woodrow Wilson asked for a declaration of war in 1917. So today for class, okay, we talked about this assignment the other day, but I am going to just refresh you on it quickly. you're going to start talking about forms of government in ancient Greece today. And when we come back from spring break, we will touch on this because you do need to remember some of these things. You're going to learn about all 4 of these forms of government throughout the rest of history. So it's important to have a pretty good base. So in a you have a monarchy. Okay, and remember you need to read these little boxes down here as well, because one of the questions on the worksheet that goes with this is about those little boxes. Okay. Then you have oligarchy. Yes, that is pronounced oligarchy. Okay. So monarchy you've heard of before because that's one person ruling and they're a king or a queen, king at this time. An oligarchy is a small group of people who rule. Tyranny comes from that word tyrant, right? So it's someone who gains leadership probably illegitimately and rules with more force, almost like a dictator. And now when we think about dictators, we think about, the big bad Stalins and Hitlers of the world, but you have to remember, like, this isn't the ancient world, so it's not quite so intense. It's a little bit different, okay? And then democracy, which is we in the United States we practice a form of democracy, okay? So you will read about all 4 of these things, okay? This is what you do not need to do anything to this PDF. You just need to read it. If you want to print it because it's easier for you to read on paper, that's all you. If not, it doesn't matter to me, okay? So once you are done with this, and I would say maybe read it one at a time and do the worksheet after you read each one. So remember, we've done these again, or we've done this before. The text boxes are there for you, to type into. Remember, if you need to zoom in, you have to come over to the Zoom, which is the little magnifying glass with the plus sign. You'll have to type into the text boxes, okay? Yay. But if you have to write too much, remember, you just make sure you make the font smaller, okay? You don't want your text boxes to run into each other because then that makes it difficult for me to read, okay? So you're going to do all 4, and there's for the draw a symbol to show this government. Don't worry about that. Just answer the 4 questions. And then you'll have to answer these 6 questions, and you read a sentence about a government, and then you try and determine which government system would work best, and you can put the circle over whichever one you think. Okay? If you have any questions today, I will be online most of the day. I have a Zoom meeting with the teachers at 11, but other than that, I am free to help you if you need any help with anything. So just let me know. Email, be quick on your email because I'm relatively quick on my email, so just be ready for that. And I will talk to you guys soon.